Welcome to episode number 1 of Counseling Over Coffee with Nicole Amesbury and me, Andy Rank. We're here for one reason only, to help you with the trials and tribulations you experience in your life in a direct, honest, and loving way. Our format here is really simple too. When you submit a question on our website or leave a comment on any of our social media sites about relationships, sex, parenting, work, anxiety, depression, or you just don't know which way your life is heading, we address those questions here. Will we always solve your question here? No, we won't. But what you will get is perspective to put you on the journey, on the road to getting happy. What you'll never get here are fortune cookie answers to life's complex problems. So now that you know why we're here and how we can help, let's go meet Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Nicole.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. This is exciting. It's our first show.
It's a very exciting moment. And so let's just get to it.
Let's get to it and don't waste anybody's time.
Right? So our first question that we chose came to us on the site. And it was someone wrote in and said, "What can I do about my boyfriend giving me the silent treatment?" And I chose this question because obviously with us, you're not going to get the silent treatment. No. We're going to talk to you and give you some solutions. And this is a problem that a lot of people have.
It's brutal. I've been there.
Right. I think all of us at some point have been there with the silent treatment. And then you don't know what to do. You feel powerless and helpless usually. You know, like if somebody gives you the silent treatment, what can you do with that?
Right. Well, and where's it coming from the other person, you know? I mean,
it's frustrating. So usually what happens, and from, me counseling thousands of people, and this is certainly not the first time anybody's talked to me about the silent treatment. What happens is, people have an argument or some kind of conflict in their relationship, and then one person just cuts off, just decides They're not going to talk. They're taking their ball and going home. They're not going to talk. They're not going to I'm just cutting you off.
Right. And no matter how much you try to get them to talk, it probably makes it worse.
Yeah, well, it can. I mean, definitely. Or text them, maybe just not even get them to talk in person. Or right. No matter how many texts you send, if somebody's decided they're not going to communicate with you, they're not going to communicate with you, and you can't make them. It's right. Like trying to feed a baby, and they're not going to eat their vegetables. Right.
Got those lips all like.
Yeah, no way. I'm not doing it.
Right.
It's like the closed lips. It's a good metaphor for that. And so. Usually it can be a power move. It's a powerful thing to do. And it really is in a relationship with somebody. It's really a form of verbal abuse, although people don't look at it that way because people aren't being verbal.
Right.
But to stop communicating speaks louder than anything.
Right.
I'm just not going to communicate with you anymore. It's so you'll hear people come in to like, counseling sessions and say, my partner just won't talk to me. They're not communicating. We're not communicating. Yeah, you are communicating. Right. They're not saying anything.
In a really bad way.
It's a very strong communication that I don't want to talk to you. And so, then there becomes this power dynamic of, okay, who's going to make the approach? Who's going to break down first? Who's going to decide that that it's time to talk and make amends or not? I mean, you could have somebody who would just completely ghost you and never speak to you again. That happens. Right. But then, in a lot of relationships, it's just maybe goes a while and then someone breaks down and really tries to acquiesce to that person who's giving the silent treatment and say, because they feel powerless, they acquiesce to the person, that's why it's a power move.
Right.
and not a good one, not a good one.
Right.
And we're just not going to talk anymore. And so you're not going to be heard and understood. So there's a real breakdown in intimacy, because what the person who's doing the silent treatment, giving you the silent treatment, what that person is doing is withholding their love, their affection, their care. And the other person definitely feels that, they feel that withholding. And you can't have intimacy without someone hearing you, responding to you, and having empathy and understanding.
Right. So how do you deal with it, though? I mean, how do you, on both sides? So you've got someone that's getting the silent treatment I suppose it depends kind of on how that person reacts to it, because some people will get really anxious and kind of, it'll bother them and they'll try to fix it. And then some people, they'll pull away too. And then, you've got both people that aren't communicating at all.
But if you got two people that aren't communicating at all, that's usually like ground zero, relationship over.
Right.
Normally there then becomes this kind of dance of the intimacy. That's like, okay, every time we get into a fight, the person there's usually one person that does the silent treatment. It's like anytime we get into a fight, I can just walk away, and then eventually you'll have to, like, there's patterns.
Right.
And so, and then the anxious person who wants to feel affection and love from the person, wants to feel this very badly. They want to get things resolved. They're usually the very active partner.
Right.
They do then go forward and try to do something about it. And usually they'll heal, but then they'll go back into a cycle, and it's like a loop.
Right.
And they'll try to do something, but they'll be like, hey, you know what? The silent treatment thing you're giving me, it's not working for me. But it's usually working for the person who is giving the silent treatment.
Right. Well, you're training that person that, this is, so you said it's control. So I can totally see that.
And it's usually the male. I mean, it really usually is the male that gives the silent treatment.
True.
Not
always.
not always, but
I've been on the end of that.
A lot of the time. There are two types of people. There's the people that can do the silent treatment, and they know it's powerful for them. Right. And then there are people that just can't let it go. They just, I want to get this. They feel the problem of the relationship or not being understood. They feel that frustration, and they just want to get release through another person.
So the person that's giving you the silent treatment, though, are they conscious that they're really doing it, or is it just like a reaction because I'm so pissed in this moment that I don't even want to deal with you? And then it just perpetuates itself.
Well, I mean, there are all times when we get into conflicts, and like if I'm really upset, I need a break.
Right.
I need time to myself. I need to feel, I need to control my anger, especially if it's like a conflict that's escalated. I need to control my anger. I need to back off, and I need time to myself before I can approach you again.
Right.
So it can be, I mean, there's, if it's a small amount of time, it's not a big deal. Right. We shouldn't trap people and be like, you have to talk to me now and get it. It has to happen now. And so that's different, because you can't, a lot of problems can't be solved instantly, and people do need time to go into and search their own feelings.
Right.
And take time and
cool down, try to problem solve for what they want on their own. And so, you want people to have the space to do that. It's just it's that insecurity of the space. Like, I'm afraid if this person cuts me off, is it permanent?
The anxious person thinks it's permanent. It's like, is this person ever going to talk to me again? Are they going to they kind of freak out a little bit. And so we don't want that to happen. And so usually it's two things. The person who gives the silent treatment needs to understand that you have to give other people in a relationship security. So you have to say, unless it's over. If it's over, it's over.
Right.
But if you find yourself doing it, then you need to say, you need to recognize it, and you need to, and then if you need cooling time, you need downtime or whatever, that's fine. But you need to give the other person reassurance.
Right.
That, hey, I'm not going away forever. I'm we'll talk about it, and then you need to give a date. You need, as best as you can, say, a couple of days, let's readdress this,
Right.
let's problem solve. But right now, I need some space.
Right.
And then the person who's so anxious,
right, it's kind of gives them some clarity about the whole thing.
It gives them some clarity, but they also need to just be patient and understand that too. They need their own patience. A lot of times it's a push-pull, and
because then if someone's in that state, it's selfish of me if I'm the anxious person to keep pushing them. You're just going to push them farther away.
Yeah. And it's usually the anxious person that feels that even less, because what they're really seeking is security.
Right.
They want to get the problem solved. They want to get it solved quickly. They want, they just want things to be better. They just want to feel better at that moment.
Right.
And they want that security that person doesn't hate them and isn't leaving them. And it's just, that's all it is a conflict that's going to get resolved. But it becomes so much larger.
Right.
That it's like, is this person going to abandon me? Are they, they're rejecting me. It feels like it's a rejection. If I'm not going to talk to you, I'm rejecting even communicating with you.
Right.
And so it feels that way because that's what it is.
So, both sides of that equation need to work on it to be.
Yeah.
So it's not just the silent, because it's easy to say the person giving the silent treatment is like the bad one.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're anxious, you need to kind of look into that too. Where's that coming from?
Yeah. So you have to, you just put it such a great way. It's an equation, it's an equation, and it's, what are the equations? Like there's this, when you do algebra, you have to do something on one side and something on the other side. And so it's like an algebraic equation of a relationship. So each person may have to do a little bit of work, and maybe one person, but you'll feel that.
Right.
You'll know soon enough.
It's really, both people have to be conscious about the fact that this is how they react to this kind of whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
So if you aren't willing or don't understand you're doing this stuff, how do you, if somebody just gives you the silent treatment every time there's an argument, how do you fix that with that person? Some people are just won't get it, Some
people won't get it. And that's the thing, is because a lot of times when this happens, and it's good to look at patterns and say, like, well, does this person give me the silent treatment every time I bring up a particular issue? Every time I bring up finances, every time I bring up, hey, why are you, if you're thinking there's infidelity or something, or something, they won't, they're not just giving the silent treatment and refusing to communicate at that point. They're refusing to solve the problem.
Right.
They're refusing to solve the problem ain't going to get solved. And then you have to make a decision.
Right.
Then you have to make a decision. Is this something I'm willing to live with, or do I need to get my needs met elsewhere? Or if this person isn't going to work with me, I'm going to have to find a workaround.
Right.
And it may or may not include them being in the relationship with you anymore.
So let's say that if I'm the person that's on the receiving end, and I'm aware of this, and I want to approach that person to just make them aware that this is a problem for me. Kind of, how would you do that? Because it seems like somebody needs to start that communication in order for this to get resolved.
Yeah.
One way or the other, if that person's open to doing it, and if they're not, well then maybe you need to find someone that's more communicative.
Yeah, people could go to couples counseling. They can have counseling, but I think you do at some point, and usually not in the heart of the conflict, but you need that. If you notice that as a pattern, you need to go to them and say, "Hey, I notice whenever we have a conflict, you really distance yourself, and I feel like you're very far away from me. Can we talk about that?" And I think what's really an interesting kind of thing that you can ask people something, when are the times that you felt closer to me? And when are the times that you felt like you needed to get away from me?
Right.
Or maybe something that you can talk to the other person about and say, look, there's something going on here. It's not working. Will we try to solve whatever problem? And I'm sure, I mean, because people notice this. There's times when you feel closer to people, and there's times when you feel farther away. And let's talk about those times and see, okay, well, what's the, how we are, Andy, like, let's look at let's look at the successes and wins and see what works.
Right.
And then let's see what's not working. And, I think looking asking those questions, when do you feel closer to me? When do you feel far? When do you feel like you need to get away from me?
Right.
Is a good question to ask the other person, and then really listen.
Right.
And with understanding. I mean, you have to listen with understanding to the person who's giving the silent treatment. We don't want to demonize the person.
Sure.
We don't want to demonize anyone, but like the person who you said it best. You said the person who's giving the silent treatment usually is the one that's like,
yeah,
what a bad, like, your friends will rally behind you and all kinds of stuff. And so it's like, but that person still is suffering. I mean, both people at that point are suffering in the relationship of a breakdown.
Right.
And so they need to be able to approach each other with some real honesty and understanding about it.
Right. Well, I think it would be interesting for the viewers and listeners to sort of, in the comments, maybe leave some thoughts there about how they've handled it or what their experiences were, and just kind of see what everybody else is doing with it.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has a success story out there, I certainly want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear like, hey, we had this, we worked through it, I mean, because there are success stories.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's great to give those comments. And then also if people are really suffering from it, they could certainly click on the website and, either book some time with me or ask another question.
Right.
And we'll just keep, this may not be the first time we.
Oh, for sure. Well, and part of what we want to do here is, create that sense of community because, although you're trained and have all these thousands of hours counseling people, we want to get other people's input because, I certainly don't have many answers as far as that goes. Not like you do, but everybody has a part to play and can contribute.
Well, I mean, we're all searching for answers, and luckily, because of my experience, I have it's like if you looked at a library, and if you think of all of the thousands of patients that I've seen over time, and then seeing things get better, it's like I have a library. Like I pull out a book and like just remember all this stuff and say like, well, okay, here's what and you begin to unravel it and begin to really see how solutions work. So that's what we're doing for, is to find solutions and get people, happy in the journey of it, because it's not easy.
Well, that's for sure.
It's not easy.
No. Well, and that's why we're here, because I
mean, I'm not immune from somebody giving me the silent treatment.
What's that? I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm not immune from somebody giving me the silent treatment, so I have to deal with this.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a horrible thing because it plays with your mind. So
it can make you feel really. The thing is when someone gives you the silent treatment, it can make you feel really. It is a rejection. They're pushing you away a little bit, and so you feel nobody likes rejection,
right?
And nobody wants to feel abandoned.
Right.
And it sparks, that's at the heart of the silent treatment. It sparks those feelings of you're just good. I'm treating you like now you're a pariah. You can't get close to me. And that's very scary. And it hurts when you care about somebody for them to do that to you.
Well, right. And that person, the giving the silent treatment, and I think a lot of times is punishment too. And they know it. It hurts you. So it's like, oh, I'm going to dig.
Yeah.
Until I'm ready to, bring you back into the fold.
Yeah, I'm going to call the shots. I'm going to call the shots. That's like the bad shepherd. How they have the good shepherd. The good shepherd brings the sheep into the flock and keeps the sheep close and safe. It's like the bad shepherd. It's like you're going to be treated like the black sheep. You're going to be cast out.
Right.
And just like you said, until I decide to bring you back into the fold. And I have the power to do that, and I'm going to use it.
And that's really not very healthy.
No, it's not. It's not very healthy. And ultimately, if you do that to enough people, you will be a very lonely shepherd.
Yes.
with no sheep.
That's true.
And so,
Well,
it benefits both people to resolve the situation.
so Nicole, how would we sort of summarize this, or what can somebody do for next steps with this problem, with this question?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, after hearing, us talk about it, I think the next thing you do is go out and try something in your real life. So if, for example, the person that asked the question, it's not like you heard us give an answer and nothing's going to happen. You're going to go out in your real life and you're going to be dealing with it. And so, the hope is that we've given the instruction that different ways to talk about it with the other person, decisions to make on your own about what you're willing to put up with, really, and what you're willing to do in the relationship before you just give the silent treatment permanently or whatever, whatever you decide to do. So it's about then going out, taking a risk, maybe in the relationship with another person, or making a decision on your own about what to do unilaterally if they won't work with you.
So that's a great place to probably wrap up for now. That was a really good summary. We'd love to keep this conversation going. So if you've experienced the silent treatment, or you've given the silent treatment and have your own perspective, what worked for you, kind of how you deal with it, how you've overcome it as a couple, we would love to keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below and we'll respond, but we want to keep this going and try to help get as many perspectives as possible here as we move forward. So if you love what we're doing, hit the subscribe button and also that little notification bell. It will give you notifications when we release new episodes. Also, tell your friends about this. It's good stuff. There's something here for everybody because we all have problems that we need to deal with. We're also on social media. Go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to have you. So thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next episode.